This 300 TDI engine has a leaking P gasket, and we call it a P gasket because it looks like a P. Depends which way you're around. The one we're going to be replacing is a metal gasket with a raised portion around the outside, whereas the old ones used to be paper. And the paper ones were notorious for leaking because of, again, I've said before on gaskets, about the expansion and contraction of metals at different rates. On the 300 TDI, the cover, which has the water pump in it, is aluminium, but the block is steel. They expand and contract at different rates, and eventually the paper will wear out. It's fascinating to see, but whereas a metal gasket is a bit more forgiving. You see, they used to use a paper gasket on the, because this block was very much the same as the 2 1/4s, and they used to do 2 1/4 petrols and 2 1/4 diesels, but the front cover was cast iron, proper cast iron, you see, and they used to expand and contract at the same rate, therefore the gasket wasn't a problem. But once you've got different expansion rates, you get problems with paper gaskets. So I've got set up with some different cameras this time, and I hope we can see everything. The first thing we've got to do is drain out the coolant. Bloody hell, I just put it in. So wait a minute, I've got another camera stand here, so let me turn this up here a bit. Is that better? No, a bit more. It's on one of them ball things, you know. So what I'm going to do, first of all, is I'm going to drain out as much coolant out of this container here using a siphon syringe. Why am I saving? Well, I only just put the coolant in the other day, so why am I hell-bent on keeping as much as I can? Well, A, it's Sunday, I can't get any more, but the other thing is that it cost $60 in coolant to fill this up, that pre-mixed stuff. It wasn't cheap, it's good, but it wasn't cheap, so we're going to try and save as many drops of it as possible. So what we're going to do is suck it out of here first. Wait a minute, get my bucket ready. There we go. So we're going to suck this dry. Hold. And then put it into the bucket. That is the most pathetic syringe I have ever seen in my life. I think this might take some time, so I'll come back later. Once we've got all the coolant out of the reservoir, we can undo the clip that's on the bottom hose, and then, using our bungs, our set of bungs here, we can take the hose off, if it'll come off. Lift it up quickly, find a suitable plug. Like, oh, wait a minute, I'll move this out of it. Find a suitable plug like that. You can pull your hose clip off if you want, but yeah, pull the hose clip off. It won't come off. And then we can guide that down to your bucket, your container below, and then we can take the plug out and we will save all that coolant. Now we're going to drop it, we have to drop the bit out of the block as well, but at least we can salvage as much as we can without wasting it on the floor. And remember what I said, cats and dogs like antifreeze, they think it's sweet, so just be careful of that. So I'm going to just drop this out, and then we'll come to the next stage. Well, I thought I might as well show you how easy it is once your coolant's all plugged up. We'll pull that cap out. Liquid gold. Should be for the bloody price, shouldn't it? And you can see we can drain the whole radiator off by doing this. It'll come out, it's just airlocks in it, that's all. We'll put that back because we don't need that set anymore. And we'll take the plug out the top of the radiator. Radiator plug, just a regular 13/16 spark plug socket. Yes, I know it's got a plastic plug in it. Yes, I know it should have a brass one. We try to save every penny we can on this job. And there we go. That's almost empty, but almost isn't good enough. So what I'm going to do is, while that hose is down there, I'm just going to put the airline down here a little bit and try and blow it down. I've got the airline on. I'll just put the hose down at the bottom and I'll show you how much more we can, the camera down at the bottom, see how much more we can squeeze out of this before kicking it over. Yeah, a wee bit more, so that's not too bad. Then we'll move on to the next stage. We'll keep that hose down there. The next thing we're going to do is take the hoses off, give us some access, take the fan off, and what else are we going to do? Yeah, try and pull a lot of this front stuff off. There's a lot to undo, so better get on with it. There's all sorts of hoses on these cars. 6mm, 7mm, 8mm. Well, you can see the way I take hoses off. I just, there you see, what size is that? They were 7s, this must be 6s. I tried to screw the hoses back onto, because I can do them pretty fast with the gun, I screw them back into the positions where they came from. And that means you're not losing hose clips. I'll take this top, see? Take that off. Yes, somebody commented this top radiator hose was a bit swollen. Yes, it is, because it's an old turbo hose. I've got one on order, but with the current situation in the UK I can't get a new one. So we're going to have to use that one for now. Take that off, that was a clip for over there. Take this top cover off. One good thing, at least this car's pointing the right way around now. We'll take off this hose off here, that's a different drive again. Bring it down over here. Now with a bit of luck we shouldn't have any coolant in this hose here. If we can get it off. I have to get my tool out. Oh, I only just put this on the other day. There we go. Again, another one of those invaluable tools that you don't think you need, but they're really handy. A little bit of residual in there. The reason why we're taking this off is this also connects to the bottom hose, so we've got to get that off to get off this housing. So once that's off, we can pull off this top hose here, and again we won't get water everywhere because we've already drained off the pipe, off the radiator down. Let's get a bit, before we go too far and wild with ourselves, let's take off this fan. It's a left hand thread, which means you tighten it up to get it off. Now with a bit of luck, they usually come off with a tap. Thus, 30mm. Easy, eh? Now support it because you don't want it dropping through your radiator fins. Don't be full of bravado and pull the damn thing off, and then you knacker up your radiator. Takes a wee bit of time. Take your time though. It's a very deceiving thread because all of a sudden it'll just drop off. One thing about the GM was, on the threads for the fan, it had a lead, it had about 3 or 4 threads undercut so you could support it while you were screwing it on. What a great idea. These ones here, there you go, just drop straight off, there's no idea it's coming off. Now we've got to get this out of here without destroying the radiator. Next thing, now that's off, I've got the bottom hose off, I've got these pipes off here, I can get an 8mm spanner and take off these two nuts that hold the shroud on. Let's get on with that. Right, with the nuts out, we can guide this out. They are a bit tight. There. That out. At least this time when I'm working on this, I've got my table behind me so I can put all my stuff on. And now we can get to all our bits and bobs that we need to see. So I'm going to continue taking off these hoses. I've got to take this bypass hose off here and the bottom radiator hose. Now, because the water pump's higher, I might have to drop a bit out of the block, because I want to drop the level down a little bit, but unfortunately, like I say, because the main entrance for the water is higher than the P gasket that we need to be, we're going to drop some water out. We want to save as much coolant. So the idea is now to take off this here, different spanner again. Let's see what that one is. It's not that one, can use it in there. Do 6mm. So that. Pull that hose off. And again, you won't have water everywhere. That's a nice thing about this job. So that's out the way. This here off. That's that out the way. Turn that one round. Right, the next thing I think we'll do, we'll move the camera a bit, because we've got to take off the alternator. But I think whilst we're set up here, and you can reasonably see well, let's see if we can bring it a bit closer. How's that? Oh, that's not too bad, is it? I'm going to take off the belt and the tensioner, but first of all, before I take the belt off, I'm going to see if I can get these screws, these bolts out of the pulleys for the water pump here, and also the power steering pump, because we've got to get them out. So let me go and get some sockets. Wait a minute, I've got some here on my bench behind me. These shouldn't be tight, but sometimes people put them in with guns, and that's what people have done. Oh, that one's come out. Just want to slack them off. Ah, that's it, that's come off. What about this bad boy? Oh, it's shouting. So we need our special tool to get that off. So first of all, we get our 15mm and undo this tension and take the belt off. Get that out of the way. Take this off. Sometimes it's a good bit of practice to put the bolts back in the holes, because these small screws are very easy to lose and also very difficult to find because they're a really odd size. What I'm going to do next is take off the tensioner. Bearing's good. Sometimes these come out with a stud, sometimes they come out with a nut. Doesn't really matter. We have to take this off because there's a bolt behind it. There we go. That's that off. There's the bolt there. I don't know if you can see, it's just in there. The next thing we're going to take off is this pulley and the alternator. I'm going to find a special tool to hold this alternator. One I've been working on for a little while.